It appears increasingly unlikely the WNBA and WNBA PA will reach a deal for a new collective bargaining agreement ahead of the October 31st deadline. There are multiple paths forward, including an extension. It is a wild time of collective bargaining for the WNBA, and it could get very complicated. Yahoo Sports Daily. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. And I want to stress something here. Yesterday, Caroline, I felt like I was yelling at people, stop listening to stupid people. When it comes to the WNBA, anyone that doesn't want to acknowledge nuance in this conversation probably isn't really qualified to have the conversation. I just want to start, most importantly, because what you see are a lot of people that are just screaming, well, WNBA players want to be paid what the NBA players are being paid. Let's be very clear. I've talked to people in the league. I've talked to players, current and past. Nobody's asking for that. They are, however, asking for a different rev split, basically, to simplify here, 50% of total money that comes into the NBA goes to the players as part of the CBA. The women want a better percentage, and acknowledging that it's not as simple as 50-50. That's there's negotiation happening. So it's not that they want to be paid the same as LeBron. It's that they want to be paid more of a percentage of what the league brings in revenue than they are currently being paid. It's just, I have to start, Caroline, with that nuance.
And I think that's a very important nuance, because if you believe that the WNBA players should not be paid more, then you're really telling on yourself. You're telling on yourself that you don't really understand the economics and the finances of the league, or you're telling on yourself that you just hate women. And if that's the case, then fine. Don't comment on the WNBA. Nobody is asking for, in the WNBA circles, for $50 million supermax contracts that are being signed by the stars in the NBA. The WNBA is, incredibly self-aware that their TV deal is not nearly as rich as the deal of the NBA, What the WNBA is asking for is a significantly larger portion of the television revenue pie than they are getting. And it's because they're getting significantly more television revenue with this new TV deal than they were in the past. Now, what the WNBA is making right now is about 12% of their television revenue. The NBA makes 50%. The WNBA is asking for something that looks more reminiscent of the share the NBA is making than what they're making now. I mean, 12% is absolutely ridiculous. The MLS makes 40%, just to put that into context of another league that doesn't make nearly as much money as the NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, so on and so forth. They're just asking for a larger portion of the pie, a pie that's getting much larger. They're asking for what they feel like they deserve for a league that is growing significantly more now than it ever has. We're getting 2 expansion teams next year in Toronto and Portland. And then we're getting teams in Philly. We're getting teams in Detroit. We're getting a team in Cleveland by 2030. All of those teams had to pay hefty expansion fees, $250 million and north of that. That's all money that goes to the league. That's all money and intrigue that's been created by what these players are doing and putting out on the court. And if you want to say, well, Caitlin Clark deserves all of that, of course, Caitlin Clark deserves a big credit for that. That what Caitlin Clark has done is unprecedented in the WNBA, but that's not really how things work. So, look, they want
Caroline,
a
that's not how it works
of a
in
larger
any
pie
sport.
that they're getting.
Like LeBron deserves more than he gets if you really want to look at the importance to the league. Like Patrick Mahomes deserves more than he gets if you want to look at importance to the league. That's just not the way it works.
And if people say, well, without Caitlin Clark, this wouldn't exist. Well, Caitlin Clark does exist. She's not retiring. She's not going away anytime soon. She's in the league.
It's also hard because everybody says, well, they've been losing money and now they're finally making right. Players don't need to worry about the past economics. Like we always say, contracts are not based on what you've done. It's based on what teams think you will do moving forward. Collective bargaining agreements not based on what has happened in the past. It's based on what will happen moving forward. That being said, Caroline, I just have to stress this. I mean, it says the league's lack of urgency leaves players wondering if it's focused on making the work or just running out the clock. Making this work is just running out the clock. A lockout of any sort, a work stoppage of any sort, I think would be catastrophic. I think it could actually kill the W because there is such a loud narrative from people. There are a lot of people out there that have not watched a single second of women's basketball, but they just choose to yuck the yum every time, right? There's a whole group of people that have watched 2 seconds of it and they've decided they hate it, and then they want to bring their opinion so loudly to all of it that it creates this narrative the WNBA is dying or not popular, or these athletes don't deserve it. These are all like loud, blown up narratives that are becoming real because they have so much amplification. If there is a work stoppage, then everybody out there that is anti-W will use this as a reason to decide that athletes are selfish, the teams don't care about their fans. It's already a backbreaker in well-established sports that are having just absolutely great runs. It is a backbreaker to have a work stoppage. To have one in the WNBA right now, I think it would kill momentum. I think it would kill casual fans. I think it would kill some level of interest in the sport. I think it would genuinely hurt the ability of every single player to make a living moving forward. So you got to figure it out. I want teams to be fair. I want players to be fair. I want everybody to get theirs. But most importantly, as a fan of what they're trying to do and as someone that watches the WNBA a lot, I want the thing to continue to grow. And I truly believe that a work stoppage would absolutely thwart that growth.
We will be talking about this. Myself and Cassandra Knightley will be talking about what a work stoppage could mean, the kind of the intricacies of the CBA. So that should be up on the Yahoo Sports YouTube page later this afternoon. Check it out. I think that the deadline at least comes in the offseason, right? Because we saw the Major League Baseball work stoppage and the lockout happen, and we didn't even get a postseason. And that was, detrimental to the league. And it was the long gone summer that really kind of brought everything back and, brought Major League Baseball really back. So the fall is at least the WNBA offseason. We wouldn't be missing playoffs. We wouldn't be missing a postseason. We wouldn't be missing actual games. But what it could do, though, is push back an expansion draft. So expansion drafts previously have happened in December. So if the work stoppage pushes the expansion draft back, then that just pushes everything else back. And, that could potentially, have, issues down the line. I think that what they could do, though, is have an extension. So the current CBA could be extended over the next couple of months. We had that in 2019 when the last CBA was negotiated. So there's at least options here. It's not just, okay, if they don't sign it by October 31st, then the WNBA goes completely black. So that's at least, a positive thing, that there are options, that if the league and the CBA, or excuse me, the league and the Players Union, the Players Association are willing to have an extension and are still continuing to have some of these conversations, it's not going to go completely dark. I just worry about the sense of urgency on the WNBA side, that maybe on the league side, they don't see as, as much value in paying a larger portion of a larger pie, and that there might just come to a crossroads that the WNBA isn't willing to pay for it, and the league isn't willing to take anything less. If we get to that point, I do think that that could potentially be detrimental to this league at a point that is so pivotal, and a point of such important growth, and a time that there's never been more investment and more excitement over this league than there is right now.
I am not a big superhero movie fan. Like I don't dislike them. I just don't usually go to them. And I saw the preview for the new Superman this summer, and I was like, man, I really want to go see Superman. So I went and I saw Superman, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. I haven't seen most of the other I think the last Superman I saw was the original Superman. So I got no point of reference. I went, I had a great time. I enjoyed Superman. I started looking at social media afterwards. Yeah, thank you. I looked at social media afterwards, and once the algorithm figured out that I'd seen Superman, I got every tweet, every Instagram, everything you could possibly get. And all I saw were just angry fans because they didn't like the direction this particular director took the Superman franchise. And what's interesting is I was talking to my buddies that are Superman fans, and I was like, hey, did you go see the movie? No, it sucks. If you didn't see it, how do you know it sucks? Well, I read about it. Everybody says it sucks. There is something to, in modern society, everybody read about it. I heard it sucks. It must suck. Unfortunately, there is a loud group of people that have decided, I've never hidden on this show the fact that I'm not a big golf fanatic. We cover it because it's part of our job, but I'm not a big golf fanatic. I do not flock to social media every time there's a golf event to be like, golf sucks, golf sucks, golf sucks. I don't do that. But for whatever reason, there are so many people that want to do that about the W. My concern is, you're right. My concern is that there's not a level of urgency, and there's just enough volume to the you suck crowd that eventually people will read it, they'll hear it, and they'll think it's true even if they haven't checked it out. That's the unfortunate sort of byproduct of what social media has become, and that's why I'm so concerned. At the same time, I think we both agree I would love for the players to be treated fairly and to get more of what they deserve in this process and to be able to make a living doing what they love. Just at what expense?
That's what concerns me. And look, the WNBA is in an incredibly pivotal period that they cannot reach a point where everybody is investing and everything is growing and you're expanding the league and you have more exposure and more money than you ever have before. And then now all of a sudden it stops. And then all of a sudden it's halted. And then all of a sudden, a few years down the line, all of those expansion teams aren't healthy enough to stick around. And then you go back and you retreat to, the league at a certain point where it used to be. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I just say that I'm fearful of that happening. And the WNBA has to understand how critical and how sensitive of a time this is in a league in its infancy, and in a league that is growing like crazy.